Hello everybody, Average Gamer, welcome to another episode of Supreme Ruler Ultimate Tutorial. In this episode, we're going over the Research tab. That's right, the Research tab. So this is where you're going to be doing a lot of your research, unlocking units, unlocking aircraft, tanks, technologies, new facilities, things like that. Giving your country boosts and bonuses to healthcare, infrastructure, you name it, you're going to get it from this screen. So, we're going to start from the top left here and work our way down. So first thing, the research tab is the one that the picture, obviously, it looks like a beaker. So first thing here is its actual little research lab. Hover over it and you get a little percentage here. Now this is your research efficiency. This is how efficient or how good your research is. Right now we're working at 42% efficiency. Not good. We're not even working at 50% efficiency. Next part, it says rank. So right now on the knowledge index, we're 64th. Basically, top 1 is usually the top 10 countries. Basically, it's when you've maxed everything out. Here, it's queued research versus available research slots. So right now we have 2 queued and 1 available. I believe everyone gets at least... Yeah, everyone gets at least 1 slot, no matter what. Then over here is the minister's focus. Right now, no focus because we haven't done anything here. So like every other department or group, there is the buttons on the right here, but we're going to go into these first. So right here, for example, is what you're researching. Green here means it's being researched. Yellow means it's being researched, but not efficiently. Like it's there, but it's not. And then red means it's not. You can't research it right now. There's a problem. So you usually hover over it and say research progressing, research progressing. You can also hover over, not the bar, but the actual box itself and tells you. Right now it's going to cost us, it's costing us $16 million to research the Mark 1 Boy Scout. It's a recon vehicle from the looks of it. It's got, the remaining amount is 45 days of 112 days. It's a year 47, which is 1947. So it's telling you right there, it's a 1947 tech, so it's 3 years old because you can always look at the year and the tech. So it's 1947 tech, 1949, right there, it's 3 years behind. Down below, it shows you what product effects it gives you. Right now, no project effects because it's nothing important. And below that, prerequisites. So we needed armor improvements to do it. Overall, for producing the Mark 1 Boy Scout, the world is indifferent to us. Remember earlier we learned about the state tabs. So for example, the way the world feels about us is they're indifferent that we're researching the Mark 1 Boy Scout, and our people are indifferent because they just don't care. It's a scout car. What do you fucking do? Next one is our elite guard. Same thing. It's costing us less than $1 million to produce or to research. It's 136 days remaining out of 341 days. It's year 25 technology. Also as well here, the world's indifferent and our people are indifferent. Now, if you look at other technologies here, for example, we'll start to put these things up here. So you notice that some of these things automatically went yellow because it's queued. I'm just going to move everything over. Now, one thing I will tell you, we'll actually take some of these off. You can double click them here. So for example, fluorescent lighting tells you on the left what you need to get to it. Tells you what text it leads to here, and what designs it leads to. So, like weapon text and things like that lead to other things. Actually, that's what we'll do. Let's close this all out real quick here. Before we even get into that, let's get into the cabinet. So the cabinet here, our cabinet minister, has all the usual stuff, right? So here's you're telling him to research air units, warfare. Here you're telling them to decrease spending, so don't spend as much money on research. Here you're telling them to improve our research facility, or research efficiency. Here you're telling them to improve our tech level, specifically research land weapons, or land units and warfare units. Please, make sure that you focus on naval units, pure science techs. So these are like theoretical techs that unlock additional things. Research-based technologies. Research-based are what unlock pure techs. Pure techs, if I'm not mistaken, unlock applications. So basic techs unlock applications. Medical techs unlock things that make our medical department, like our medical field, way better. So lifespan, quality of life stuff. And then military designs. So overall, I usually don't touch this. I usually lock him out, to be honest with you, and I do the research myself. Product efficiency. So basically, this is the more money you put in, the more efficient your country gets when it comes to research. I usually just max the fuck out of this. It's not that much. It's only 1.6 million. Then for project development, I usually max that out right from the get-go. This is usually what I do. I usually then lock out the minister. That way I can do the research myself and kind of gauge where I'm sitting financially up here versus what I can do, with all this stuff. Next part is the add to research tab. So this is where you add, which I did a few seconds ago, adding things to be researched. So right now we have 2 out of 3 slots. So we have one more slot we can use, right? So for example, if we went to warfare and we looked at, anti-tank shell improvements. It's a 1939 technology, so it says year 1939. This is research cost. It's $370 million. We have $5 billion, so we're good. Time remaining is 85 days out of 213. Current status is unresearched. The world will be indifferent if we're researching it, and our people will be indifferent if we research it. Overall, it says next technology description. So it says next stage of development on anti-tank shells based on further development of existing technologies. Project effects? Nothing. It's not going to affect anything. Prerequisites down below. Armor designs 2. So it tells us we need armor design 2 to get this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we already have armor design 2. Yep. Then we have things like carrier development, things like that. Transportation. Now, here's where some certain things come into play here. Is it Automotive Components? Aircraft designs? Modern military bridges? Why do we have nothing that actually affects anything positively this early? Here we go. So, if we study particle accelerators, it costs us $750 million. So we have 125 days of 314 days. The reason why we don't have the max days is because the game kind of lets countries that are not as developed catch up. Because if other countries develop it, it becomes more like a more common knowledge or a more common science. And it becomes easier and easier for other countries to catch up, basically. It's 1930s technology, so we're 19 years behind the ball on this one. So far it's on research. The world will be indifferent, and our people will be indifferent, but it's the device of using electromagnetic fields to propel charged particles at high speeds to contain them in a well-defined beam. What are the project effects? Our atomic bomb goal goes up by 4%, which we'll get into. Prerequisites are quantum physics technology and electronics, base electronics are also a thing. Now, also here, you'll see some things saying non-tradable, so these are things you cannot trade. Here, it's an air attack, which we'll get into. And then here specifically, it's a unit or facility prerequisite. So something needs it specifically to be built. So here's something with an effect. Here we go. So improved power grid. It's going to cost us $1.1 billion. It's going to take 2.3 years out of 5.8 years to build. Everyone is going to be indifferent about it. We haven't researched it. It's 1931's tech, so 1949. And the actual description is advancement in the transmission efficiency of electrical current through improved infrastructure and technology. Overall effects: output of all power is increased by 50%, which is pretty good. And then the prerequisite for it is quality control standards. So one thing I like about this is it tells you what overall effect you're going to get, and certain other things that you'll get as a kind of extra little thing here. So for example, underwater petroleum extract. We need mobile steel barges. Like I said earlier, if you also double click too, it will show you. So if we study underwater petroleum extract, it's 1938 tech, so it's 11 years behind. Everyone will be indifferent. It'll take us 95 days out of 238 days. It's only going to cost us $80 million. We haven't done anything associated with it for research, but we get an oil derrick. What do oil derricks do? They pump water or oil out of the ground. They pump oil out of the ground. Now you'll notice on the right it says things like default strength, personnel, weight, reaction time, combat time, days to build cost, goods cost, uranium's cost, and all that stuff. This is one of the most efficient things you can build in the game when it comes to oil. It is the best thing in the world when it comes to oil. So, when playing, it's very important that you kind of decide what you're going to do and things like that when it comes to these tabs. So you got your overall projects. Your projects unlock unit design. So, for example, we have paratroopers, which we can study. It costs $142,699 a day to build. It'll cost $142,000 and it'll take 9 days to build. We need 48 tons of military goods. The annual maintenance, so the yearly maintenance of it is $140,000. No uranium, and it's a 1936 technology. It gives you all the stats, all the stuff. So if you really want to research it, you'll know that you can build it. Air units, well, we're China right now, so we don't have any. Naval units, same thing. You double click, it gives you all the information. This is a year 0 ship. Anything that's year 0 is just a generic thing for that era. Like this is just an armed merchant ship, and it's classified as a surface target. Now, one of the good things about this game is it will remove obsolete units out of your military building, which we'll get into later on. So you don't have to worry about certain things. Like you don't have to worry about building, like, a Cromwell World War II tank. Well, instead of building a phaser tank, like it's 2052, and you're at war with northern Uganda, in southern Italy, and as China, for example, and we're fighting Uganda in Europe because they've created the Great African Empire or something, and they've invaded. They're invading Europe through Italy and through all that stuff, and you're like, I need more tanks. I need more phaser tanks. Go, double click, build about 60 of these things, and you look, all of a sudden it's, oh shit, they're Cromwell tanks. They're from 1944. You don't have to worry about that because it removes all that old shit. Now, mind you, it'll give you tanks that are 1 generation behind or 2 generations behind, but that's no big deal. One thing I'd like to do with that is actually go for those older vehicles, build them, and then sell them off. Because it'll say, it costs you $48,000 to build it. It's like, okay, well, it only cost me $48,000 to build this, but I can sell it for $70,000. Fuck it, I'll sell it. So you do that, right? You make a little money, become like an arms dealer, and then missiles. So you got your nuclear missiles and things like that. Next one is your technology races. So earlier, the little thing that you saw where it said, I think it was atomic bomb +5. If we were to study that, this thing here would go up 0.5. So notice, for example, there's the race for the bomb. So right now, you see the little check marks? We've got everything with a check mark. So you hover over it, it'll tell you what you need. We need basic particle accelerators, and we get this option. This goes up 6%. Then we'll also need X-ray cartography, and we'll have modern electromechanics. And then we'll also need fission experiments. We'll also need nuclear weapons research itself, obviously. We'll also need nuclear fission, early guidance systems, and nuclear weapons. And then we'll have, nuclear weapons. Simple as that, right? As you research these things, people no longer become, indifferent. Next one, obviously, is space race. Right now we have nothing. Then there's the internet race. And then there is the Man on Mars race. So as you research things, it'll actually progress you. As you can see, like here, we're just over the percentage. That's 100% done. I think we're at like 50 some odd percent. It doesn't show you, unfortunately. But here, no one's right now in the space race. Thing is, no matter what happens, the US and Russia, their events happen no matter what. So you get like Sputnik, Apollo 13, Apollo 11. Sorry, not Apollo 13, Apollo 11. Apollo 11, Sputnik, Laika, the dog. I think there's even an issue with a monkey at one point, I think. So those things happen as you go. Now here is your known technology. So these are all the things you know. To be honest with you, this page is almost completely and utterly useless. I've never used this thing once. And last but not least, facility controls. So just like every other everything in the research tab, your research facilities can be built to give yourself more research slots. So right now we have 3 slots, 2 facilities, as you can see down here, and 1 just naturally that every country has. So we can, if anything are offline, we can turn them on. There's nothing to turn on. We can turn off our research facility, which what the fuck point would we do that? We can scrap a facility if we want. We can build one at the minister's suggested location, or we can just build one on the map ourselves. One thing I do want to say, there's a couple things you want to do at the beginning of the game, and if money, you can afford it, build as many research facilities as you can. Usually I try to get up to 30 to 35 facilities at the 25 to 30 at the beginning of the game. Build them, get them going. That way you can research as much as you can and just spam out the research. Especially depending on your country, you can get super advanced, or even catch up. Like in our China gameplay right now, we're in the 70s, and our ground tech, like our actual armor and infantry and all that stuff, is actually in the 90s. So we're about 20 years advanced for when it comes to ground technology. Our warships and our navy is right on par at in the 70s, and then our aircraft is just on par, if not I think a little bit behind. But as China, we caught up. It's 1970, and we caught up with all the ground stuff, and we're actually advanced now. We're actually building stuff that any other country would fucking just kill for if they had the chance, technology-wise. But yeah, so that is the research tab. Not much on this screen, to be honest with you, though it does have, out of the screen that's probably the most unused, I'll say, because here you're only going to when you go to research new things and make your decision as to what you're going to research. So I want to say it's the most unused slot box section, but it's the one that has the most impact. So in the next episode, we're going to be talking about defense production. See you next time. Bye-bye.